getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 10 of the season, coming to you today from Sonoma. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, we're getting into crunch time for this season here in 2025, and we head off to one of the oldest tracks on iRacing. It's a track that will no longer be on the service in a couple of weeks' time once we switch over to Season 4, but we're still in Season 3. We've still got this old scan, and we have got a 40-minute long race that lies ahead with a lot of different twists and turns expected.
Hey, yeah, Ron, it's not going away. It's just getting an update, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, this is, we kind of visit the two historic NASCAR circuits, seen almost every year, either with one of the three weekend warriors. This one being one of the least used tracks on iRacing, Sonoma, along with one of the most used tracks on iRacing in Watkins Glen. So it's going to be a very difficult race. But I'm always interested to see how the drivers can perform at this track when they come, because it is a very, very technical track and is very difficult to get everything under control. And so I'm looking forward to a really interesting race today.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Super technical track this. 12 turns in all, but we'll talk about the track layout in just a couple of moments' time. For now, though, with only 3 races left to go as it stands right now, only 2 once we're done with today's show, I think we'll take a look at the championship point standings as we head off into this round of the championship. We'll start off, as usual, with Spec 1, where that gap between Felix Samoa's at the top and Daniel Tufts, your reigning champion in P2, has been slowly but surely decreasing as the weeks and weeks have gone by. Entering this week, it is only 20 points between the two of them, but Daniel Tufts may have a slight, small little trick up his sleeve in the sense that Felix Samoa's is not with us here today. He warned me right after the Formula V broadcast 1 week ago that, hey, I'm not going to be here next weekend. I'm going to be with my son at a Formula SAE event in Hockenheim. So he's not here this weekend, so that gap between himself and Daniel Tufts probably going to go into the negatives. I think Daniel Tufts, as long as he doesn't get struck by a falling anvil today, may walk away from this race here at Sonoma with a championship points lead. Mikey Pollard a little bit farther back in P3 with Ed Buchanan and Michael McConnell rounding out your top 3 in the Spec 1 category. We'll take a look at Spec 2 now, where Jason Shen has been the dominant force up to this point in the championship. Several wins. He returned to victory lane last time out as well. Back-to-back wins at VIR and Bathurst, and that gap between himself and Paul Jackson pretty much insurmountable. We can probably already say that Jason Shen is your champion here in this season, but we'll probably wait until the end of this race to really give it to him. Paul Jackson, as I have said, slot in P2 with Andrew Love, Josh Wilkie, and Ada Allen rounding out your top 5. And we take a look at Masters now, where it's been another story of dominance. This time, though, it's for Antonio Rees. 684 points is his tally as it stands right now. Alan Degas is slotted behind in P2 at 531. Stevie Ray in 3rd and Jeff Wubker in 4th, with Jurg Mani rounding out your top 5 in the Masters category. So that's how it looks in the championship point standings heading off into this round of the championship. And Charles, this is a track that, as you said, will get updated here in a couple of weeks' time. From a broadcasting perspective, I think this old scan is not the prettiest in the world, but from a driving perspective, I adore Sonoma. I'm hoping it breathes some life in once we get the keys to that new scan of the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we'll have the keys to the race as well. So as we talked about, rhythm track, very tight corners, and it's just the way you have to handle this track. It's very much rhythm, and you can so it's one of those that once you get the rhythm down, it's a pretty fun track to drive, but sometimes there'll be some things out there that catch you out. 2 great chances to break late and pass down into the hairpin is the first one. The final corner before the start-finish line is the second. You can really work in late break and try and work around these corners to try and gain an advantage. And then finally, I think today's word is patience. It might be you might gain more positions today by other people's mistakes than by your own driving ability. So if you're starting near the back, just be patient, take your time. You're going to pick up some positions as cars just kind of naturally go off as people try and get into the rhythm here today. So those are my keys to the race.
Yeah, and certainly some important keys to keep in mind. You bring up a great point talking about the overtaking opportunities, this being one of them. Turn number 11, the hairpin right towards the end of the lap. Technically speaking, it is not the final turn, but it's near enough to it that we'll count it anyways. But let's do an onboard lap of this facility. Running on board with Max Gamble behind the wheel, the 227 car, heading his way down the start-finish straightaway directly adjacent to the NHRA drag strip. And up the hill we go through turn number 1, under the bridge into 2 right now. A curved braking zone going to make it tough, and you crest the hill with the car losing a lot of weight. It's really tough to try and keep the car on the road. Now we get off into another S section. This is turn number 3. This right here is turn 3A. It's a NASCAR track. Of course, they're not going to be too good at numbering the corners. This is turn number 4. This is what makes this layout. It's the carousel section, this old school part of the track that I absolutely adore. Turn number 4 going to be an okay overtaking opportunity, but you need to get it done with authority as you head your way through turn number 5. This is what makes the carousel with turn number 6, heading your way through this long, seemingly never-ending downhill left-hander onto the back straightaway. Please, for the love of God, do not tow. Okay, he's still rolling. We'll just sing a little song and dance here in a couple of moments. To the drag strip.
Nope, he's done.
God Golly gee willikers, I think I just broke my hand slamming it down on the desk. We'll filibuster for a little bit, talk about Jurg Mani, your top qualifier in Masters as it stands at the present moment. Turn 5, that is the turn that I didn't really talk about as we were riding on board with Max Gamble. This is turn number 6 of this downhill braking zone. Charles, I think we're probably going to see a lot of racers go off the track heading through this section of the circuit, especially in these Formula Fords, which, let's face it, they're not the sharpest of handlers in the world. This is another good overtaking opportunity that it brought up at the Keys. Turn 7 at the end of this drag strip, heading off through this technically 2 corners baked into one, but it feels enough like a hairpin that we'll call it a hairpin. And now we head off through the S's at the end of the lap. These corners are not numbered. You have to wait until there, turn number 8, and here turn number 8A to finally get back into the numbers. Now down the hill through another bit of the S's. Turn number 9, the IndyCar chicane there on the inside, and this is turn 10, where you can really ruin your day if you go off there. Look at the runoff area. It's dead grass, and then after that, you've got tire barrier. Not going to help your case out at all. This turn number 11, the hairpin right towards the end of the lap. A fun overtaking opportunity, if I do say so myself. But here we go, the final turn, turn number 12. It's a corner that doesn't really catch too many people out, but it can keep these racers on our toes. A slightly eventful lap as we jump from one car to the other, but that is a lap of Sonoma.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you talked about turn 12 not being much. It's really not. It's because they're driving flat through there. But if you're too wide coming down to try and finish off that lap, sometimes that inside wall wants to jump out and kind of hit your left side tires. Hopefully that won't happen today. But yeah, just a fun track. And like I said, once you get to the rhythm of it, it is a blast to drive. But it is frustratingly difficult to get into the rhythm here. It just takes lots of time and lots of practice. You mentioned the elevation. I didn't even mention that, but the elevation changes here make a lot of these corners much more difficult than they really are because of the way the cars get light and the carousel downhill. You'll see those people trying to lean on those back tires to try and get the car around the corner. And so you might see a car go sideways there as we just talked about. There's Jason Chin. As those rear tires just give up from the G-forces, overcoming the grip. So, it's one of those that's going to be, I think, I'm shocked actually that we have any of the Spec 2 drivers in the top 10. I would have thought this would have been more of a Spec 1 Masters type, top of the grid. Just from the fact that, with the Spec 2, when you get to a track like this, it's a little more technical. That's especially an obscure one. It makes it a little more difficult for these guys to get up to speed. So great job by Wilkie there in P6 during qualifying. And then you mentioned Samoa's not being here. Antonio Reese not here either. So that's going to give Alan DeGassis a chance to close that 150-point gap. And those guys that were in third and fourth were almost in a dead heat. So may see some changes there in the Masters Championship battle.
Yes, he may see some movers and shakers leaving this race. We'll touch on your current pole sitters in all of our classes. Mikey Pollard, top of the board as it stands right now. 139.105 is enough for him to sit on the pole position. Daniel Tuss currently on the front row. Let's see if Edward Buchanan could do anything about that as he comes across the line. Not going to see an improvement from the Canadian behind the wheel of the number 5 car. Actually, we will, just not an improvement of position. Here's Jeff Webker coming across the line, currently qualified in P15. Improves on his time, it doesn't improve in the spot. Pollard still top of the board right now in Spec 1 as well. Jurg Mani, top qualifier of the Masters competitors, and Josh Wilkie, top in Spec 2. Do want to raise this. We've had 6 different pole sitters thus far this season in the Spec 1 category. It has been a rather tough class to try and nail down. In terms of the amount of winners that we've had, it's trended roughly the same. The pole sitters, though, it has been a wide swath of many different racers grabbing the pole positions week in and week out. It's been a fantastic season here thus far. And speaking of the season we've had thus far, and I may need to poke the bear with the stick a little bit because Mr. Wilkie did not make a thumbnail for it. But if you'd like to check out the newest video posted here onto the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel, you can take a look at every single start we've had thus far in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors season. Been a wild season up to this point. Some absolutely amazing racetracks in our rearview mirror. Looking ahead to the final 2 weeks of Osher Slavin and Donington Park, but of course here at Sonoma, Sonoma for race number 10. We have got a barn burner on our hands, a burner of a track here as well. Going to burn up some tires, and with scorching hot track conditions of 105 degrees Fahrenheit for that current track temperature, that's going to make it even more of a tough task for these racers here, Charles, as I think we are about to switch over from this qualifying session into the race in just a couple of seconds time. They count down to 0 and then they count it down again because iRacing likes to play tricks on us broadcasters. I would make more jokes about that, but I do not want to lose my iRacing subscription. We'll take a look at that starting grid here in just a couple of moments time for what is going to be a really intense race, 40 minutes long as per usual, with some championship consequences on the line. And it's going to be Mikey Pollard starting this race from the pole position. Daniel Tuff set to join him on the front row. It's going to be Edward Buchanan starting this race in third, alongside Jörg Mani, your Masters pole sitter, in fourth. Joshua Soto making his return to the series will start in P5 alongside Josh Wilkie in sixth. Nick Sigley will start this race in P number 7 alongside Michael McConnell in eighth. Starting this race in P number 9 will be Kevin Adrian, with Max Gamble rounding at your top 10.
Starting in P11 will be Jason Chin, our Spec 2 championship leader. Andrew Love starts in P12. Jim Brewster will start in 13th. Stevie Ray with All Masters Row in 14th. Jeff Wubker, Alan Gass is another All Masters Row, 15th and 16th. Bob Cohen, Michael Nelson, 17th and 18th. 19th is Lars Tihus, as well as Donald Calcutt in the position 20. Jeff Browning in 21st. Florian Utz in 22nd, and Jason Grider, JG1, starting in P23, and that is our starting lineup for today's race.
So 23 starters in all around a track that, as you said a little bit earlier on in the show, Charles, not necessarily a popular one on the iRacing platform. I think that's a bit of a shame, but it's also kind of understandable. It is the oldest scan in the sim after all, and even in real life, it's a track that doesn't blow too many people's socks off. I personally like Sonoma. I think it's a really fun track, and you also got that drag strip in there, which, based off my background getting into racing through the NHRA, you can tell that's definitely adding in some brownie points for me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's it's, I think, because I think the iRacing, because it is a sim and because there is some game-like qualities to it, we won't call it a game, we call it a sim. But the more difficult tracks to master seemingly kind of drop off the radar a little bit, even though Sonoma hosts races in IndyCar and NASCAR, along with various other things. I've seen GT races here, so it is one of those tracks that's pretty well used in real life. But I think that because of the difficulty of the track itself, it's a little less used in iRacing, as a lot of drivers, as they're coming up, don't really want to try and tackle something that could potentially harm their iRating. We'll say it like that. So you can see tracks like this. Barber, I think, is another one that doesn't get as much love because it is a very difficult track. So I think iRacers kind of tend to stay away from them if they're even if they're on the calendar and you're battling for championships. It's still one that you try and just not run often as you normally would.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you raised there. Some racers may fear this track. I think there are certain things to fear about it for sure. Certainly not going to fault racers for thinking that, but it is a very fun track. I just wish iRacing would maybe make this a part of base content as we get a little bit farther along. I will say, though, credit where credit is due to iRacing. This has been always part of paid content. I remember buying this track many, many moons ago for a Ray Esports show and thinking, I am never going to use this place again. I mean, I've done a disgusting amount of shows thus far this year, as I like to joke about many, many times on these shows. I think this is like my second or third broadcast at Sonoma. It's just a track that doesn't get a lot of use, which I think it's a shame, but also an understandable shame, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if you're running the like I said, if you're running the series that are connected with real life events, it will come up because they always try and put real life events around the same time on the official calendar. So if you're running the NASCAR, you'll see this track pop up. If you're running IndyCar, you'll see it pop up, but once a year. It's not like it's going to be on there every season. But like I said, if you take the time, it's kind of like I would say a CTMP. If you take the time and run laps on it and start getting your rhythm with it, it is absolutely a blast to drive.
And let's see if it's going to be a blast of a race here for round number 10 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Sonoma. We've got Mikey Pollard and championship hopeful Daniel Tufts sharing the front row as the green flag is out and the drivers are on their way. Looking like a pretty even keel start with both of our front row sitters as they fan out 3 and nearly 4 wide, a little bit farther in the back. Good side-by-side squabbling going on right now between Josh Wilkie and Jörg Mani as they head their way up the hill into turn number 2. That's going to be tense. I believe that was Edward Buchanan with a wild and wacky ride as he headed his way up the hill. But as they head their way down to turn number 3, it's Pollard getting that jump on Tufts. Still some squabbling going on all throughout this field. Everybody wants to get a good start here at Sonoma and capitalize on the mistakes that people are making rather early on.
Yeah, so good start for Josh Wilkie, up 3 positions. Not so good for Ed Buchanan, down 2, and Josh Soto down 1 as well. So I'm seeing some movers and shakers early in this, but so far everybody's on the track and making the lap. So good start by everybody. No incidents to speak of.
Yeah, very smooth start up to this point here, but as they head their way down into the hairpin at turn number 7, this may be when some racers start to go for some dives. Side-by-side racing involving Jason Chen. Look at Stevie Ray cutting some shapes with himself and Alan DeGassis, but as we jump back to the front, still these two continue to squabble for that front spot. Not really fighting too hard, working together as pseudo teammates as Mikey Pollard jumping out to a gap. Daniel Tufts right there to pounce as well, and those two both pulling away from your P3 runner as it stands right now of your Spec 2 leader, Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Let's see as they head their way down to turn number 11. Will we see a move from anybody? A good overtaking spot to be sure, but can also be a spot to really cause a pileup. We see many times in the world of NASCAR how many times you could have a pileup heading through that hairpin. Everybody keeps it clean on the first lap, but it's only going to be a matter of time before someone gets bit by the bullet here at Sonoma.
Yeah. As we were watching that, and you'll see it again as we get back down to the hairpin again, that has those tire bales there on the inside of that. Those are not tire bales in the normal sense that you'll bounce and they'll move around and stuff like that. They're basically concrete slabs in iRacing. If you hit it, you're stopped. That's pretty much how that's going to work. So it would be good not to make too much of a move down into the hairpin, but you can. There is plenty of room down there to go 2 and 3 wide to filter into that corner before you have to come back out 2 wide coming out. So it's a good spot to make a move, and we'll see if anybody can take advantage of it today and make up some positions.
Ooh, as we got some side-by-side fighting going on right behind. That's Kevin Adrian trying to make something. Actually, no, my apologies. That's Josh Soto trying to make something work on Edward Buchanan. My apologies there. They still result in Buchanan in the P5 spot in that P5 car, remaining exactly where he was not too terribly long ago. You brought up a good point, though, Charles, talking about that final hairpin. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that tire barrier is fun, cutesy, and cuddly like a teddy bear. Oh, as someone is up in the air there a little bit farther in the back. That's Donald Calcutt. He's gone off the circuit big time in the number 17 machine. I think Jeff Browning also involved in that. Lars Tyhaas may have gotten a piece of that drama as well. Big stack up as they headed their way through the S's into turn number 8. Let's take a look at this big drama early on.
Yeah, Tyhaas as we're on board with the 535 car on the outside of this little S section. And just a little bit of contact there, loses the rear, and just nowhere for the cars behind to go. You see cars trying to evade, one just basically looping around, and the final one just sitting there spinning. That's JG, Jason Grider. As he comes around the hairpin, he's going to approach this incident as it happens. And so we'll see his response to it. As you see, he's got plenty of good vision there, but I think maybe a little heavier on the brakes than he probably wanted to and kind of lost the rear of the car there. But either way, no contact. He can rejoin and continue. As we take a look at another moment, this time we follow Calcutt's perspective of the newcomer. Look at that wild ride from Jeff Browning. He landed on the wheels, which is absolutely stunning. I mean, granted, his wheels are broken off, so it's not a good afternoon for him. He's towed back to pit lane with some major damage on that machine, but he managed to land it. He didn't land on top of his cranium. He landed on the wheels, which I guess that award style points potentially. I'm not too sure. We'll have to ask the judging committee for that. We will say one thing, I'll say something else. Daniel Tufts holding on to the race lead as it stands right now. Mikey Pollard dropping down to P2. These two starting to pull away right now as Josh Wilkie,
not too terribly close, beyond about 0.8 of a second. The gap between Pollard in P2 and Wilkie in thirds. We take a look at that move from Daniel Tufts. Gets it done as they head their way onto the back straightaway out of the carousel through turn number 6. Tufts just able to get that run on the inside. Pollard maybe tripping up a little bit, and through into the race lead goes Daniel Tufts.
Yeah, Tufts was a good move there. Takes it really tight coming out of the carousel, and is able to get a really good run and make that pass even before they got into the hairpin, which is how you want to do it. And yeah, they're starting to pull away a bit from Monty and Wilkie. Monty's now around to take P3 over Josh, who has dropped down to P4. So maybe a little bit of a cork in the bottle situation as those two front guys are starting to stretch out the gap a bit. And so see if Monty can lay chase and make that time back up.
As we'll see Jeff Browning in the 963 car rejoining this race. Already some major damage on that machine as he tries to avoid all of the drama running down on the inside off through the dead grass. That's another pet peeve I have about Sonoma. Why do they run the NASCAR race in the middle of summer where everything around Sonoma is dead? That will continue to stun me. As Lars Tiehaus has had a moment in the 535 car. Let's see as he heads his way up the hill into turn number 2. He's going to go and hits that curb on the inside. Nothing too major. Just loses it coming out of it. Very easy to have happen through that part of the track.
Yeah, it really is. And we mentioned the curbs a little bit. We talked about it before the race that the mountain, the plateau on the inside of the hairpin that you do not want to try and work your way around if at all possible. Most of these curves are pretty tame though on the outside. The exit curbs don't seem like they give the cars a lot of problems, but as we saw a little battle there between Monty and Buchanan and Wilkie, and Soto getting involved as well. So now Wilkie's starting to get some guys that are challenging him a bit. Looks like Buchanan's going to get around and make this pass stick as they work their way out through 1 and into 2. So Buchanan's going to have that inside run and gets a good run, and it's still here. Oh no, not 3 wide. Let's not do that. Easy there, Soto. We don't want to do that quite yet, but you can see.
Oh no, he's doing it now.
Look at that. Nice move.
Oh, man. Josh Soto, ever the opportunist, gets that move done. He went for the 2-for-1 deal. Wilkie ran wide, heading down to turn number 4, and through into 4th goes Josh Soto. York Monty got to say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to just drive off into the sunset. Soto, that was absolutely fantastic from him. I was fully expecting those two battling hard, the two Canadians of Wilkie and Buchanan, to battle hard. It's interesting. Wow. Despite the fact that he was battling with two Canadians, it looks like Soto was the one that soaked his tires in maple syrup. He got those moves done quick.
Yeah, he did a great job. Just was patient, saw the cars battling and said, I'm going to move to the inside, takes the inside line, and then Wilkie goes wide in the next corner. And he says, I'll just take that one too. And able to get both positions and is now up to P4.
That was a slick move there from Soto. So we take a look at Jeff Browning having his struggles hang down to turn number 11. A quick little sideways snap as he had his way off into the turn and decides to pull off into what used to be Gilligan's Island as usually the staging area for the NHRA races. If anybody does not get that reference, look up Gilligan's Island NASCAR Sonoma and you'll be able to figure it out. That wonderful gem of old stock car racing. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. Here's a fantastic battle. Max Gamble, the newcomer of Nick Sigley.
Yeah, good battle side by side coming through 1, up the hill into 2. Looks like Max is going to get that position taken over Sigley. Sigley going to look to the inside and try and see if there's a run there, and he's able to almost keep up there, but not quite. As he's on the outside, and the track favors Gamble. So Gamble's going to pick that position up, move up to P9, and he's only 3 positions behind Wilkie. There's a little bit of time involved in that, several seconds. So he'll have a little bit of work to do to try and challenge for the Spec 2 lead, but a good move there to get past Sigley and move further into the top 10.
And that was a nice move as we take a look at a moment involving Josh heading his way off through turn number 8 into 9 right about now. You can see some pretty major curb wax there. Gets him a little bit squirrely, and he gets sideways coming out of it, runs off into the dirt. He keeps it going in a straight line. One thing to raise, though, about this race, Charles, I'm shocked we haven't talked about this thus far. The incident limits. Of course, that's always a factor here in these 18X, that DQ limit, to pick up a penalty at 13. So If these racers begin to pick up those incident points like Pokemon cards, we may end up seeing some of these racers drop out.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Right before you said it, I was thinking, yeah, we have to worry about some drive-throughs here, and of course we've got the pit stop, and the pit line is on the outside of the final corner, so you can get, as we see Stevie Ray coming in, which officially opens our pit window. He'll come in for his stop at the 10-minute mark of the race. The entry is pretty straightforward. It basically follows the final corner on the outside, but the exit follows the inside of turn one and comes right out into the racing line. So the exit is a little more dangerous than the entry. The entry is you may have to watch out for some people not braking when you want to keep going fast to get into the pit lane. So that might be a challenge as well. So it'd be something we'll have to keep an eye on as we get a little bit further down, as we see that car. I could not see who that was. Was that Buchanan? That was a little sideways there. We saw the carousel make a little bit of an issue for drivers, not a major one yet, as we're on board here with Soto working our way around the hairpin. And you see that raised plateau there on the inside that will really upset your car if you get up on top of it.
See a quick little story as we see this side-by-side battling briefly cool off between Monty and Soto. One of the towns right outside of where I live has some pretty high curbs in the streets. I usually call them urban plateaus instead of curbs. That's basically what it is on the inside of turn number 7. If those racers him in these Formula Fords, they're going to be in for a world of hurt, as here comes Soto trying to look for it down the inside, off into the hairpin. Edward Buchanan there to pounce as well, despite having that sideways snap coming out of turn number 6. He set the fast lap of the race last time by, so Buchanan here to fight in that number 5 car, as the fighting still going to be on between himself, Soto, and Monty. Looking at a squabble going on right behind. That's Andrew Love and Jim Brewster duking it as they're side by side. They head their way off through turn number 12 onto the start-finish line right about there. So it's still some battling going on all throughout this field. It's a pretty good race that we've had up to this point here, Charles. These racers certainly not taking it easy around this track. That can be super rewarding if you get it right, and it's super punishing. There we go. The words briefly escaped me. It can be very punishing if you get it wrong here.
Yeah, absolutely is. Monty still hanging on to P3 there. Soto just, basically his shadow at this point, with Buchanan and Wilkie and Adrian and McConnell back there. Nice little train going, as they've lost about 3 seconds to the lead 2. And the lead 2 not as content for now. Tufts and Pollard just content to just run in line, as we see Soto really looking to the inside there. Monty had no choice but to give him a little bit of room, but their wheels almost touching as they come through the hairpin.
These racers are throwing hell at. I say these racers. Josh Soto is throwing hell at this battle for third between himself and Jurg Monty. In all this drama, the front two have really checked out, but Soto, he is not going to give up. Side by side, looking on the outside, now the inside into turn number 10. Josh Soto trying to cut some shapes here big time. Wilkie runs wide right there in the back, a shot, but here comes Soto. Will he go for the move? There's Buchanan coming into the pits as they nearly stack up, heading down into the hairpin. Monty holds on to P3 as it stands right now. Soto, he is not going to stop at anything. That's one thing about Josh Soto. Fantastic racer, brilliant driver behind the wheel. He does not know when to quit. It could be a blessing and a curse for him at the same time as he looks for it down to turn number 2. He thought about it. He nearly went for it. Monty holds off in that spot for now. And here comes Josh Wilkie looking to pounce as well. We got a battle for 3 different racers in all 3 of our classes, duking it out for the final podium spot. Awesome stuff here at Sonoma.
Yeah, it really is. They're having a great battle as Wilkie's looking around to the inside again. Is going to make the move on Soto. Gets the move done. Soto a little bit wide coming out. Gets it back on the track, though. So loses the position, and Soto probably not really going to be real happy about that. He will look to return the favor in short order. I think Soto, I think when I think about his racing, the term checkers or wreckers applies a lot of the time to Josh. He is very, very fast. But can be a little mistake prone, and those mistakes are usually pretty severe. So, we'll hope for the checkers part today that he'll get a great result and not the records, because he's in a battle with several other drivers who are in championship contention. So we don't want to have him, having an issue that takes out several of our championship battlers.
Yeah, certainly do not want to see that. Soto being the star of the show as it stands still very early on in this race, as here he comes down the inside of Wilkie. They both ran wide out of turn number 10. Soto thinks better of it. You see that Wilkie runs wide through the mid portion of the turn. Soto right there to pounce. He thought about going for it on the corner exit. He still holds on to P5 as it stands right now, as that's a big moment for Nick Sigley coming out of the hairpin. What in the world just transpired there? Now Soto dropping down. What's going on with Josh Soto? He's dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just missed the corner and lost a little bit of his momentum, and that's cost him some time. We'll see if he can stay. No, he's a meatball flag, so he's got a meatball for something. We'll have to see if we can get a replay. Maybe there was contact with Wilkie there and cause some issues. As we'll get them one at a time as we are on board with Sigley here, as we're working our way down into the hairpin. And this did look weird. He's on the outside, is trying to late break on the outside, work his way around, and it's just that's almost like it was a hardware failure. Like he maybe because it just turned dead left as he was coming out of that. There's the contact between him and Wilkie, and he hit that inside wall there coming through the final corner. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier. That corner, that wall will want to just kind of reach out and grab you. And yeah, the contact with the rear tire of Wilkie, and then the contact with his front tire into the inside barrier, and that's caused suspension damage, and it's going to require him to come down and take his pit stop probably within the next couple of laps, so he can get his pit stop done, he can get his fast repair taken care of, and get his car back out.
I'll tell you one, this is honest. Josh Soto did that to himself. That gap was always going to disappear. Yep. It was never going to work, and he'd be stuck on the outside as well through turn number 2. Josh Soto, a fantastic driver behind the wheel of that 07 car, but sometimes he does some stuff behind the wheel that really makes me scratch my head. He stays out for one more lap, slot in P5, and to touch on that moment for Nick Sigley, as you can see, another bad sideways snap there from Soto. That car is driving super sour. The fact he's holding on to P5 right now is an absolute miracle. But Sigley, that moment, I'm not sure if that was a hardware failure, more so just a massive overcorrection as he headed his way around the final turn. Hit that wall a ton, though. Huge hit for him. That's going to take him out of contention. As here's Jason Grider with a moment hanging down to turn number 6. Looks like he runs wide. Will he hit the wall? He will not, and he gets it back going in a straight line. Quick little off-track moment.
Yeah, and let's give another shout out. We haven't done this in a while to iRacing's update to the off-track physics. Because any other before the last update, that would have been a straight line into that barrier, and that would have been race done for Jason. So able to get in the grass, it slows the car down naturally. He's able to regain control of it and get it around the corner, albeit offline. As we see some contact there between Nelson and Brewster and DeGasses. It's just some tight battling there. Right at the edge of the top 10, and Brewster, obviously DeGallis, Allen and Jim and Andrew Love, as we were talking about earlier, they all know each other. They've been racing together since I've been doing the broadcast, and then before that. So they're racing hard. They made a little contact. They'll apologize to each other and going about their day, as we see some cars in the pits now.
Yeah, as Daniel Tuff sets a fast lap of the race last time by, I think he's starting to push because the pit stops are very much so upon us. Josh Soto has to come in to serve that meatball flag, so he's probably going to be there for a decent amount of time. Actually, no, we do have the fast repairs allotted to him. What am I saying? Kevin Adrian and Michael McConnell also going to be down in the pits as well. Will we see anybody else follow in suit on this lap? I don't think we will, as it stands right now. Everybody inside the top 10 staying out for one more lap. Jurg Mani holds on to a somewhat uncontested P3 as it stands right now. Josh Wilkie running right behind in 4th. I gotta say, with the amount of off-track moments we've seen from Wilkie and that contact with himself and Soto, even though I don't believe he was at fault for it being iRacing, I'm pretty sure he probably got whacked with a 4X, so we may have to see Josh shake it a little bit easy so we can avoid that DQ. If he doesn't get DQ'd, though, if he does get DQ'd, I should say, this would be the battle to keep our eyes on for the win in Spec 2. It's Max Gamble and Jason Shen pretty much right on top of each other as they head their way down the backstretch off into turn number 7. These two running in P5 and P6, and Andrew Love right there in the back of a shot. He's also in a pretty good spot right now. I wonder if there's any sort of damage on that car of Love, though. We saw him get a unwilling piece of that drama with Nick Sigley a little bit earlier on in this race, so we may have to talk about him dropping down until we get to that pit cycle, which is very much so coming up here as we are 3 seconds away from the halfway mark of this race for round number 10 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. A reminder to those tuning into the show, we hope you enjoy this action, and today's broadcast here is actually brought to you by the fine folks over at Sim Racers Group, and you can catch their shows on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Mikey Pollard and Daniel Tufts trading fastest laps like they're Pokemon cards. This time it's Pollard getting the upper edge at a 139.6.
Yeah, good run by Pollard. He's just kind of riding in the draft of Tufts and able to pick up a couple of tenths and get the fastest lap of the race so far. And yeah, Sim Racers Group, I'm going to add on to that. Just fantastic. Love their racing here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I get to do a little bit of broadcasting, so it's a boatload of fun and some really good racing coming in here on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. And they also have a Formula Ford. I guess their entry level is Formula Ford as well. So it's a pretty cool concept there at SRG headquarters there in East San Jose, California. 10 rigs, just great stuff is there in there, all battling together along with some other cars from different parts of the country. It's really fun racing to watch.
See, now I'm curious what the drive would be, because, I mean, Sonoma in that same part of California that Sim Racers Group is, I don't think it's too disgustingly long of a drive, but it being California, a 5-mile drive can take about 2 hours.
Yeah, I want to say I was talking with Jason about this the other night. I think he said it's basically they're pretty much equidistant between Laguna Seca and Sonoma, so about an hour and a half drive each direction. North to get to Sonoma and south to get to Monterey to Laguna. So he says, this is kind of our joint home track. So we're constantly out there, and the guys who do the real life racing are out there, and we'll race both when the opportunity is available.
And Google Maps is saying that an 84-mile drive would take an hour and a half in California. Oh, what are they kidding me? 2 drivers coming down pit lane. That's Bob Cohn and Florian Utz making that call to pit in the P11 and P12 spots respectively. So the pit stop still slowly but surely continuing on as we see those 2 cars trundle their way down pit lane. I did want to raise this because I can't remember what the last show I was doing here. I think it was a NASCAR race that I was doing here as we take a look at side-by-side racing with Kevin Adrian, Edward Buchanan up the hill into turn number 2. They're going to go, and that will be Buchanan jumping his way up into P12. Nice move there from Buchanan to jump his way up a spot. I was just going to say, the last time I did a broadcast here at Sonoma, it was of a NASCAR race, and somebody managed to hit the pit abutment inside pit lane. We'll get a closer view of it come time for the leaders making that call to come down pit lane. The first part of the pits, there is about half of pit lane where if you end up in there, you could actually rejoin the track on the inside of turn number 12. I saw someone not really understand that, run the yellow line, and just center punch themselves directly into the end of a concrete wall. Keeping our fingers crossed that we won't see that here in a Formula Ford. So you can see that actually there on the inside. Jason Grider running that yellow line, crossing the sides. They hit that concrete wall right at the blunt end of it.
Ooh, that's not good. That's not the way you want to end your race. Unfortunately, we have black flag for Jason Grider. So I believe that is going to be his incident limit. So he's going to have to serve a drive-through. And he's coming into the pits now. Speeding in pits. Oh, okay. He was already in the pit, so he's got a pit speeding exit penalty. So that's going to be coming back down the pits. So he'll have to serve that. So not the way you want to do it. But obviously, we've talked about it before. These cars do not have pit limiters, so you have to judge, and your foot has to be the pit limiter. And sometimes you don't get it right, and that's the penalty for it. Is you get the call back down.
I think it may have actually been a pit lane speeding entry because he's still in the pits right now.
Is he
That is
still
a
in the
very,
pits?
very
Yeah.
long stop. Yeah, Jason
Yeah.
Grider got to take himself out of contention. Tough stuff for him. He's been running a little bit farther towards the back, getting to learn the ropes of this very challenging track here in Sonoma. I remember I first got into racing games back in Forza Motorsport 4 when they used to call this place Infineon, and that is a name that I still like to default to, even though it was a corporate sponsored name, and
Yeah.
as much as it's understandably being dogpiled on with Echo Park Raceway down in Georgia for the what used to be Atlanta Motor Speedway. Infineon was that is a cool racing name. Anything that has ion at the end of it, it's like, you know what, that's good.
Yeah, I guess so. Well,
You can tell
I
I
did see
whacked my head
also.
too much as a kid.
Yeah, I did see that we'll have a name change for the NASCAR title sponsor for the Junior Series. So no longer the Xfinity Series. Next year will be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, or whatever they're going to call it. The O'Reilly Cup, maybe. So as the title sponsor is going to change next year, and so it's part and parcel of racing. Is you have to get the sponsors to help pay for the ride, and then you got to thank the sponsors and treat them right, and just speak about them all the time. So it's something that some of them don't make a lot of sense sometimes, but it's part, like I said, it's just part of the business of racing.
You know, when they announced that a couple of weeks ago, I made the quip on Twitter or X or Fandango, Grubhub, whatever they call it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying, imagine, because if anyone's tuned into a NASCAR Xfinity broadcast, they have to mention Xfinity a lot, especially during the post-race interviews. I would love to see them do that, especially if someone had some sort of incident out there on the track because of some sort of spillage out there. It's like, yeah, it's such a shame. We had such a quick race car, but sadly, the turn 2 was covered in oil, just like the parking lot of your local O'Reilly Auto Parts. I'm not sure how well that would go over.
Probably not. Probably not great. And so we'll see. And obviously, always the thing that's kind of intrigued me is the corporate sponsorships when they clash. Like when you have the at some point in time, the Talladega race was the diehard for diehard batteries. And then you get a driver like Bobby Labonte driving the Interstate Batteries car, wins the race, and so now you've got the Interstate car in the in the winner circle of the diehard 500. So it's always one of those stressful things. As we're get another replay here, and this is Josh Soto, who's already made his pit stop and got his car repaired, and working his way down into the hairpin. He comes around and just a little loop there, half spin, carrying a little too much speed, had to lay on the front brakes and losing the rear. That's just a little mistake. That's going to cost him a couple of seconds of what he was trying to do, which is obviously try and run hot laps and try and make up the time he lost in the pits, and with that limp around for a couple of laps there with the damaged car.
Yeah, I know the fact that he held on to that spot, even with that car driving like an absolute hoopty-rod, is rather impressive, but a little bit surprised that we haven't seen most of the other racers up towards the front make that call to come down pit lane. Daniel Tufts, Mikey Pollard still staying out. In fact, the entirety, as it stands right now, the entirety of the top 8 haven't come down pit lane. So from Jim Brewster all the way through to your race leader of Daniel Tufts, everybody else has come down pit lane at the very least once. Jeff Browning came in twice, but he's out of the race, so that's kind of a little bit indicative there. York Monty and Josh Wilkie coming down pit lane. Will they be joined by Max Gamble? Survey says potentially. There's Monty and Wilkie trundling their way down the pit lane right now. I will keep my eyes open to see if anybody comes in. Yes, Max Gamble going to come into the pits as well. Jason Chen going to stay out. They'll jump him into P2 of Spec 2 and actually jump him into the lead once he gets past Wilkie. Alan DeGassis has also made that call to come down pit lane as well. The front 2, though, here, Charles, stay out, at least for one more lap. Daniel Tufts and Mikey Pollard still holding on to the race lead. Now the comfortable margin between themselves and third, of course, still in the midst of this pit stop, so that is a bit misrepresentative. But Daniel Tufts and Pollard have been the dominant forces up to this point in the race. I wonder if they will come in unison.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they probably will, and we're getting to that point. If you remember Stevie Ray coming in around the 10-minute mark, so we're coming up on the 30-minute mark now, which is the inverse of that. So 10 minutes, 10-minute stint, and then a pit, or a 30-minute stint, then the pit to take a 10-minute stint. So it feels like we're at the end here. So these guys maybe come down this lap, maybe one more, because obviously with the lead like this, they can work together and do a little bit of fuel saving and maybe maximize that a little more to make sure that they don't have anybody undercut and get back into this battle with just some hot laps in clean air. So we'll see. We do have Tufts coming in, Pollard staying out. So Pollard's going to go around one more time, and Tufts is going to come in and get his stop done now. So we'll see how this is going to shake out here in another lap or so. I'm sure Pollard will come in, and Tufts will be coming around to see where they end up.
Interesting to see these front two split the strategy calls. We take a look at the replay to see this pit entry. There's Pollard as we follow him, heading his way off through turn number 10. Tufts going to run a little bit wide coming out of it, and Pollard going to run it down into the hairpin, and he got a little bit wiggly there as he had his way off into the turn. Nothing too major there when it comes to time loss. Just won't want to have more moments like that, and won't have to have that happen get even worse before that pit stop coming up here soon. That's Lurs Tie House. Very peculiar, heading off through turn number 9. Looked like he just turned in too much, lost it on the dead grass on the inside. And as a result of that, he has spun ground to a halt. He's back up and rolling, albeit as well farther back. I'll take a look at another moment involving Joshua Wilkie. He's run into some difficulties heading off through the carousel, and will say as well, he's towed back to pit lane. I think he's out of the race as a result of all this. That had to have been a hardware failure. Holy cow. That is spectacular.
It was. That's over the barrier, over the fence, into the into the spectator section on the side of the hill there. And yeah, okay. So we're hearing from Guido, our producer, that he might have had a black flag on pit exit, and that might have just been out of frustration. So which is possible. Obviously, coming back down is going to ruin any chance you have of getting a good result. As we're watching on board here, you had a short run, but maybe got caught out a little bit where the cones were, and so that might have been it. And so tough break for Josh. We hadn't talked about him too much because obviously we're really good at commentator cursing our boss on the track. So it just looks like maybe that was just a little frustration there from Josh, knowing that he's going to. And we've got Pollard now and Chin into the pits, and Tufts coming around, and we'll see where this all shakes out.
And Nick Sigley has also run into some difficulties as well. He's out of the race. And to touch on Wilkie, I think he had a penalty that he had served down pit lane, came out well farther back of everybody else that he came in with. And as a result of that, he has dropped down like a stone, is now out of this race in P21. Pollard, though, gets out in front of Daniel Tufts, and rather comfortably so. It's 1.1 seconds a gap between your front two. York Monty shakes out to be classed in third as it stands right now. Josh Soto in fourth, and Edward Buchanan rounding out your top 5 as it stands, coming out of the pits here with less than 8 minutes left to go from this 10th round of the championship. Mikey Pollard trying to come into victory lane here at Sonoma. That'd be a pretty good result if Daniel Tufts can get the win, as much as he'll still be making some pretty big inroads on Felix Samoas when it comes to that championship. He wants to try and get the win because that would be 5 wins in a row from Daniel Tufts this season. Mikey Pollard, on the other hand, your pole sitter heading into this race, and also your pole sitter at VIR a couple of weeks ago. He wants to try and visit victory lane in the Spec 1 category for the very first time this season. And I think if he can just hang on to it, he may have a fantastic shot to get that done. As we jump back now to this battle with Soto and Buchanan side by side down the backstretch. Off into turn number 7 they're going to go, and that's Soto holding on to P4 as it stands right now. Buchanan in that 5 car, slotted in P5.
Yeah, so going to be a good battle here, as well as the group up front. And then you've just got York Monty is about 10 seconds behind the lead too, and it has a little gap back to Soto and Buchanan, which will probably grow if they keep battling like that side by side. Then Monty will be able to be comfortably ahead, and won't have to worry about anybody coming up from behind. But obviously Soto and Buchanan, they're looking to see if they can get up to that final step on the podium. But they're going to have to do, they're going to have to work together a little bit to get up there to Monty, and then they can start doing the battling. But yeah, this group up front now, the lead two, only separated by 0.6 of a second, as Tufts has kind of made up the stagger just a little bit. But I will say this: as Pollard was about a 2-second faster in his pit stop than Tufts, which I think means he short fueled a bit compared to what Tufts did. So we'll see how that strategy is going to play out. We may have a Thompson Trophy candidate here coming up in the very near future. Hello, Ron.
Oh, I was yapping about making a PNG for the Thompson Trophy, and then I saw that the red light on my mixing board means that my microphone is muted. So if anyone would like my job here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, why not write to us? The email address is no. I was just gonna say that you've tuned into the Racing Line podcast over the past couple of weeks. Some of the bizarre things that get formulated in my itty bitty pea brain and come out of my mouth during these shows have been turned into some very interesting images from Jason Green, JG2, to share on the podcast whenever they show the highlights at the start of that show. And I have a feeling that I may need to enlist Jason's help in making a Thompson Trophy PNG to pop up every single time that we mention it during these shows. Thompson Trophy. But no, we've got a battle for P5 still. That battle for P1 intense as well. We got a small little sprinkling of fights going on throughout this field as they're just trying to get to the end of this race and trying to give us a good battle up in the front with Daniel Tufts saying a cooker of a lap time last time by a 1:39.5. He's there and there to fight.
He is indeed. Yeah, this battle's starting to heat up. Looking at the lap times, probably 3 laps to go, maybe 2 laps to go when we get to the line. Yeah, probably more like 2, as it was just both wide coming out of 3B and then down the hill, getting themselves reset. So obviously looking at the off-track count again, we have to be cognizant of that. If I'm looking at my timing and scoring, if it's at least close, Josh Soto is well on his way to getting a black flag. So he's very his number's pretty high, and the 4X didn't help with the contact with Wilkie. So he's got to be very careful here for the last couple of laps as they're working their way around the hairpin. Now this is the lead group.
Yeah, so Pollard and Tufts still giving us a fantastic battle to talk about up at the front. Daniel Tufts looking to grab not only his 5th win in a row, but his 7th here in Season 3 of 2025. Mikey Pollard, meanwhile, looking to come into victory lane for the very first time this season, and I think he has a good shot to get it done as we have 3 minutes left on the clock. Probably coming to 2 to go this time by for these racers, and Pollard holding off that challenge, but he's got Tufts on the outside of him as they head their way down into the hairpin. Daniel Tufts trying to find any way in the book to get this move done and jump his way up to the front. It is going to be a monumental battle between these two competitors as we got closer and closer to the end. Daniel Tufts taking the run. He looks out on the outside, contact being made as they head their way up the hill. That could have ended in catastrophe, but Pollard and Tufts really duking it out.
Yeah, they really are side by side, wheel to wheel contact, coming their way through 12 and then into 1. As you can see, Tufts got a really good run out of 10. That's going to be, he'll be looking for that late breaking down into the final, into that last hairpin in these last couple of laps. He'll want to get a good run out of that as well as they're working their way down around into the carousel. And so far, everybody's standing pat is just, nose to tail, 0.2 of a second the gap between the two cars. So they work their way down to the hairpin. I'm hearing 1 to go next time by.
Yeah, 1 to go at the line for Mikey Pollard or Daniel Tufts, whoever is going to get to that white flag first. I have a feeling, though, that Daniel Tufts will try and throw caution to the wind and potentially go for this move. At the same time, though, you've got 2 racers who are potentially going to be aggressive at the end of all this. We've already seen Daniel Tufts go for a risky move. If he holds on to P2, still going to be a fabulous point stay for him, but I think he knows that he can afford to maybe risk it a little bit as long as it doesn't end in catastrophe. catastrophe. I think he may try and go for it. Mikey Pollard, on the other hand, he's going to defend like a madman. He defends the inside. Tufts thinks about on the outside line, side by side, heading down to the hairpin for the second to last time here in this race. Mikey Pollard going to lead him out of the turn, but Daniel Tufts going to keep the momentum rolling. He is closing up that gap. Will Tufts be side by side with him at the line? He will just barely. The white flag in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Sonoma, and it's Daniel Tufts giving it hell to Pollard as they head their way up the hill into turn number 2 for the final time. Pollard jumps in front. Tufts, he thought about it was deja vu to one lap ago where they made a little bit of contact, any bigger of a touch, and I think we will have seen one of those cars spear off the track and end their race in the barrier. But Daniel Tufts right there, they both go off the track. They nearly do a bump and run as they head their way down to turn number 4. Daniel Tufts very close, hounding the back of Mikey Pollard as they head their way down into the carousel section, up the hill into turn number 6 for the final time. Pollard looking to try and grab win number 1. Tufts looking to grab far from his first win and jump into that championship lead with only 2 races left to go after this in a comfortable way. But Tufts, he leaves everything out on the line coming out of that turn, trying to keep that momentum rolling onto the back straightaway into the hairpin of 7. They go side by side with Pollard and Tufts. Pollard holds on to that race lead. Daniel Tufts just not able to keep that momentum rolling on the high side. He's now got one more opportunity to throw haymaker at it. It's got to be turn number 11. It's either then or never for Daniel Tufts. He's still got 4 wins in a row. Not going to be a lose-lose situation for him. He either walks away with this race with a big championship lead or a slightly bigger one. Josh Soda and Jorg Monty begin to battle for the final podium spot. Monty on track for a win in Masters, but here comes Daniel Tufts. He looks out on the outside again. He sweeps to the inside, down into the hairpin. On the dive, they lock up, they touch, they bang. Up into the air goes Daniel Tufts. Pollard going to get away with one there, but Daniel Tufts going to get away with one. P1 at the end of this race as he comes to the line, but both of those cars with some horrific damage, and Daniel Tufts gonna, oh no, he's gonna give the win to Pollard. He stops on the line. Both of the wounded cars come across the line. Pollard wins this race. Daniel Tufts feels bad about it. My vocal cords feel horrendous as well. Jorg Monty rounds out your podium in third. A dramatic finish here at Sonoma. And breathe.
Wow, what a great finish. And yeah, Pollard just did it. He did what he thought he had to do, was just gave him the dummy, came to the inside, forced his move, down to the inside into the final hairpin, broke late, locked up, and then obviously contact damaging Pollard's car. We're going to get a replay here. He gets that good run out of 10. He did that for 3 laps in a row, got a really good strong run down this little straightaway. And this time, instead of Pollard automatically moving to the inside, he just kind of left it to the center of the track, and Tufts took the opportunity, but could not make it pay off as Pollard had the wheel damage and meatball flag as Tufts basically stops. And across the line. So did I hear he was out of gas as well? So add on to that. But Tufts, being a great sportsman, says, you know what, that's not how I want to win this race, and just parks it right before the start-finish line and allows Pollard to go across first. Great battle with Monty, Soto, and Buchanan for the final spot on the podium. The gap between those 3 cars was a quarter of a second, so obviously there was a pretty good battle there as well. And as we get everybody crossing the line here, we'll be picking up the final results whenever they're ready. We'll pick up. As we will bring those final results up. As Ron is back. Congratulations, Ron. Welcome back.
Yeah. I am battling demons with my mixing board today. What I was saying to deaf ears as my microphone was muted, there are 2 words and 3 syllables that he could use to describe the end of that race. Holy Soto ends up in P4 right behind Jorg Monty as a result of that scrap right to the line. Very lucky for Soto to walk away from this race without picking up a DQ. We'll take a look at the move that Monty put on him right at the end of that race. Look at that, crowding him down to the inside. Monty was mega sideways coming out of the turn, nearly got a bump there from Buchanan, but he gets that move done in slick fashion coming out of the final hairpin here at Sonoma. what a race. What a race that we just had on our hands. We're going to get those results loaded up here in a couple of moments' time. And I'm going to try and find my bag of Ricola cough drops once we head off into the interviews. It has been a wild one here today, and Mikey Pollard walks away with his first win this season in a dramatic series of events. Daniel Tufts doing the sportsman thing. He locked up, hang down to the turn, tried to make that move work. If he made that move work without the lockup, that would have been possibly the slickest move that I've seen in quite some time, but it doesn't end that way. Instead, it ends in a double lockup for Tufts, contact being made. Pollard, as we were hearing from Guido, as we were seeing that replay, he was out of fuel as well, coming right to the line. I think there are bigger issues than that with this car, if I'm being completely honest, but no, he walks away with the win with a car ready for the scrap heap. York Monty going to finish this race in third, winning it in the Masters category as well. Josh Soto will finish this race in fourth in front of Edward Buchanan in P5. Pretty sure the driver of the number 5 car spent that race pretty much in P5 from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered. Kevin Adrian will finish this race in P6. Michael McConnell ends up in 7th. Jason Chen wins it in the Spec 2 category yet again, finishes 8th, and with that, he has just about sealed the deal in the Spec 2 championship here for Season 3 of 2025. He finishes in front of another Spec 2 competitor of Max Gamble in 9th, and another Spec 2 competitor in the form of Andrew Love, rounding at your overall top 10.
Yeah, so Stevie Ray finishing in 11th, grabbing P2 in the Masters class. Jeff Wubker, P12 in the final step on the Masters podium. Alan Degassis finishing 13th, Jim Brewster in 14th, Michael Nelson in 15th with a nice run of Masters drivers there. Florian Utz finishing in 16th, Bob Cohen finishing 17th. We scroll the list. We've got Lars Tiehaus finishing in 18th, Jason Grider in 19th, Josh Wilkie rounding out your top 20, Nick Sigley in 21st, Donald Kalka in 22nd, and then I believe Jeff Browning P23 and the final car on the grid.
And so those are your results at the end of this race. Round number 10 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. A dramatic finish right at the end of it. If that doesn't get clipped into a YouTube short, you can kick me right in the center of my teeth, because I'm probably going to do that right after these shows are done here today. But we got one driver up there in the interview waiting area. I think we'll kick the interviews off, and I'll drag in Jörg Monty to have a quick little chat with him at the end of this show. Jörg, welcome in. P3 for you at the end of this race. A pretty wild one today at Sonoma. How was it out there?
Hot. No, it's actually hot in here in my office. But it was quite intense from the beginning on, actually. I really had to fight, to defend and stuff like that. Usually I don't do that. But this time I thought to myself, not today. I'm lifting every single time, and I'm always got the bad end. So this time I didn't lift. I just defended. But it worked fine. I hope it was fair, everything. I'm not sure, but I think it was fair. And but it was a blast. But it wasn't fair. Sorry, Guido? The last corner, yeah.
Yeah, Guido touching on the fantastic overtake that he put on right at the end of this race on Josh Soto. I want to ask you about that moment heading down into the hairpin. We were kind of focused on the drama right up at the north end of the field, but that battle with yourself, Soto, and Buchanan was rather intense towards the end of this race as well.
Yeah, I just tried to do not stupid things, but my pace suddenly slowed down. I still don't know why. I was actually quite relaxed, but possibly I was watching too much into mirrors. But at the end, I saw Joshua coming, and I thought, okay. He tried to pass me already once before the hairpin on top there, on the grass or on the sand bed better. And I thought this time I'm gonna block even more. But then he had the better outside. I told myself, okay, hold back a little bit. Just keep on fighting, but hold back. Then in the right moment, I lifted the throttle a little bit, and I thought, okay, last corner, all or nothing. And I know my braking points there. I know where I can brake really latest, absolutely latest, and I really braked on the latest point there for myself. And it was just a pure blast to drive today. It was great.
Yeah, nice to see you back here on the Weekend Warriors. It's been a little while since you came here in the broadcast booth. Do you like the stuff we've done with here? We rearranged the furniture a little bit here in the booth. You liking it?
Yeah, I did. I saw that and it looks fine. I just didn't know first where I had to go until I saw my WWE interview area. Then I went there, that's fine. So it looks good, yeah. And even the overlays are actually quite good now, so you can see much better things going on the YouTube chat. Channel, sorry.
They're looking crisp and sharp. Thank you, Guido, in the production truck, doing a fantastic job as always on all the graphics here on SMB. But Guido, that's Guido in the production truck. I was about to ask him this question. I'll ask this to you instead, Jurg. Gonna be running next week at Oschersleben for round number 11. Are you going to be out there on the racetrack there? And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
I definitely gonna miss it because I'm gonna be out for the whole weekend. I'm doing a little city trip with my girlfriend, so I'm gonna be out.
Gotcha. Well, I hope you enjoy the trip there in 1 week's time, and I hope that we enjoy the racing at Oschersleben in 1 week's time as well. But Jurg, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate this Masters win.
I think I have never shout out to Stevie, or I did actually, but a long time ago. But thank you, Stevie, for putting that league together, still doing it, and it's still a great blast. Even I'm not racing that much anymore, but I still love to race with you guys. Thanks a lot, and to you guys as well with getting better and better on the broadcast, and that's fantastic to see the development.
See, now it's only a matter of time before I finally realize and burn it into my head that the red light on my mixing board means that my microphone is muted. So when Charles passes off to me, I'm not just speaking directly into dead air. But Guido, I keep calling you Guido. You're sorry. Thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth. Well done on the Masters win, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack, wherever it is soon.
It's going to be pretty soon now in the spec, actually, because I like Road America. It's going to be a drafty race, torture, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun from our perspective in the broadcast booth. Maybe a little bit terrifying from yours behind the wheel.
Definitely will be. But let's see what's happening.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep our minds open for that race that lies ahead. Jurg, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you a lot, guys, and have a nice evening watching it and commentating it.
We will certainly do that, you as well. That right there was our Masters winner of Jurg Mani joining us here in the broadcast booth. And Charles, let's have our Spec 2 winner of Jason Chen up there in the interview waiting area. Want to have a chat with him?
Yeah, let's bring in Jason and we'll have a chat. Jason, congratulations on another Spec 2 victory. Not a little bit harder today. It looked like you were maybe just a little off the pace. At least at the start of the race, but so tell us your thoughts about how your race went.
It's true. I didn't have great pace today. It's a new track for me. I bought it just for this league, and my only practice was the 15 minutes or so of practice, like within this session before qualifying. And it's a really hard track to learn. So I'm feeling like I'm getting I'm getting like a lot out of the turns already, but I'm not because I'm slow. I think it was realistically like Joshua deserved the class win. He was like miles ahead, and I checked the replay afterwards, like where did he go? And then now I also see it in the live chat for the broadcast. Yeah, something happened, like for some reason it changed his tires, and then he kamikazed it into the wall out of frustration, I'm guessing. So he is really fast, but it just, for one reason or another, it hasn't like worked out for him in the past few races.
I mean, yeah, apparently, as Guido saying that he's really bad at pit stops, and he did make a mistake today, obviously, and then frustration kind of kicked in. And then Josh being part of SMB, as we give him the commentator jink quite a bit. So we sometimes we're as big a problem, much of a problem as he is. But yeah, it's but today was a day for probably just being patient. I think maybe picked it up pretty quickly. This is not as you said, not the easiest track in the world to just jump in and drive. It does take a few laps to really kind of find a good rhythm and a good line through here. But next week, and we'll see if we can figure out where next week is. I feel Oschersleben next week. So what are your thoughts about that?
I this past week I had a race in a separate league where we had a wet Oschersleben. So I'm actually hoping it rains because I already have practice for that. If it doesn't rain, I'll just make do.
Yeah, it is. It's every time we've gone there, it's either in the spec racer or in the formulas. It usually turns out to be a really good race, so I'm looking forward to it. I think you'll just jump right in and be at your pace. Obviously, having some laps there. So, Jason, congratulations again on the Spec 2 win. And we'll let you give any thanks for shout outs, and we'll let you go celebrate.
I'm sorry to run out of shout outs to give. This time I'll give a shout out to my friend, fellow competitor Lars Teichhaus. He raced in this race, and we've been racing each other for around at least a year, I think, in another league. And we also did a endurance race together, and so shout out to him for being a good sport. And he's actually an admin in the other league I race in, so shout out to him for all the work he's been doing voluntarily there.
There you go, Jason Chin, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you.
And that right there was our Spec 2 winner and presumptive Spec 2 champion as well, Jason Chen, joining us here in the broadcast booth. But Charles, that was an absolute stormer of a race here at Sonoma. It was so action-packed. We didn't even talk about the hot track conditions that littered this race, with track temps as high as about 115 degrees throughout that. The racing made up for it. As hot as the track was, the racing action was even hotter.
Yeah, and I honestly, the hot track is kind of part and parcel for this course. So it's just the difficulty of the track itself. I mean, yeah, it's going to make it a little bit slicker, trying to get these cars to stay on the track. But I think overall, we only had really one or two incidents that involved multiple cars. So overall, thought it was a really good race. Obviously, great battle at the front, some good sportsmanship. It's always good to see that as well. And so, yeah, looking forward to Oschersleben and potentially rain next week. We'll see. Stevie trusts the real world. So if it's raining there next week, it'll be raining in our race next week. So we'll look at it like that.
See, it's towards the end of summer in Germany. I feel like the chances of it raining are not very, very low. So we'll have to see how that race is going to be in just 1 week's time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Between then and now, though, we've got some absolutely wonderful races to look ahead to. The Spec Racer Ford's going to be running later on this afternoon at Road America. American Muscle Series will run their 5th round of the championship this upcoming Tuesday at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sim Racers Group, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, will run the 11th round of their F4 and F3 series respectively. The F4 is going to be running at Interlagos down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They will be running on Tuesday night at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, with the F3s running at Laguna Seca, their hometown track, at 9:45 on Wednesday night. Formula V is going to come back here on Slow Motion Broadcasting this upcoming week at Lime Rock, along with some action from Ron's Race Nights. They'll be returning with the Skip Barbers running at Tsukuba this upcoming upcoming Sunday. Not Sunday, Saturday. It's my own show. I should know when the hell it actually happens. That's all the stuff to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a very good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here for week number 10 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors here at Sonoma, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.